military folks. So I'm an Army vet, enlisted in '97 as a '98 Gulf Russian linguist. Military experience was one of the first things that then kind of gave me the confidence after I got back from Iraq to really kind of step out and do something more exciting with my life than my day job, which I still have, which is in consulting. So I'm currently a director in a small boutique consulting firm. So I do risk consulting for the Securities and Exchange Commission right now, in addition to being the CEO of Heroic Aleworks. So we are a microbrewery down in Woodbridge, Virginia, like straight south on 1 from here, about 15 minutes. So the first thing was, what did I want to do? I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I went and got my MBA from Virginia Tech. Wasn't sure what kind of company yet at that point, but it was kind of a journey of discovery. What did I feel passionate about? What did I really enjoy? And I want to start this off by saying that no matter what it is you choose to do, whether it's starting a business, buying a business, you got to have a core of passion for what that thing is you do. Because, let me just get this right out front, this will be harder than almost anything you have done, even in your military career. If you've been deployed and you've been through, like, you get your 1 half day maybe, if you're lucky, off, 14, 16-hour days, the conditions are crap, but you're lucky to be surrounded by people that are like supporting you, and you got these things. This is no different than that. It takes an immense amount of time and energy and emotion, and if you don't have a passion for what that thing is that you want to choose to do, you will not survive. As a hobby, I started brewing beer. And anybody here not a beer drinker? Okay, well, for those of you who don't drink beer, the process of making beer can be a lot of fun. It's not even that hard. And so started just making beer at home, literally in my kitchen, and was actually pretty good at it. And then we ended up moving down to Woodbridge, had a buddy of mine who his neighbor brewed beer. He brought us together, we started hanging out, started brewing together, won a couple of awards and some homebrew competitions, started a homebrew club, and so really started to find that passion for making beer. So once we had kind of put our heads together and started doing all this work, then I was like, all right, cool, then let's put a business plan together and see what this looks like. Let's look at the numbers. So one of the first things you're ever going to have to do post picking what it is you want to do is you got to start a business plan. Because the business plan process itself may decide for you whether or not you want to do it, or whether or not the idea you have is viable. And that's the biggest thing is, having a thing you're passionate about and having a viable idea. Because I could start selling Beanie Babies, but I don't think that ship is going to make it any further down the line. Mm-hmm. But there's all sorts of ways that you can do things that you're passionate about that don't necessarily involve a product or a service or those kind of things. So viability. So the first thing when it comes to viability is capital. How much money does it take to make this thing work? How much volume do I need to make money at this? Where are my customers? Who are my customers? There's a lot of things you have to go through in the process of building a business plan because you have to define those things for either investors or a bank. So you have to be able to put something in front of people, either the bank or other investors, and your investors, I guarantee with a small business, are going to start with your family and your friends. I'd say 90% of our investors are people that are friends of ours, friends of friends, or family members. It's very, very typical in terms of raising funds. So you have to put something in front of them that says, here's what I want to do, here's my vision for how I think it's going to work, here's how I think you're going to make your money back, here's how I think we're going to make money, period, and then painting the picture for what your vision is for what you want that business to be. And that's really what the business plan is designed to do, is to take your passion and translate it into a business vision. And that's difficult. It takes a lot of time. And if you don't have a lot of the financial background to do those things, there are a lot of resources that you can reach out to for help. There is a whole section of the VA that is designed to counsel vets on starting small businesses. Now, those things can be helpful. Oftentimes I find the people that are most helpful are other business owners that are either vets or part of a network or those types of things. Fairwinds and Forge, which are just minutes away from here, both owned by vets. So Forge is owned by an Army vet named Matt Rose, and the other place owned by a Coast Guard vet named Casey. And both of those two counseled me through a lot of my business planning, through a lot of my construction issues, through a lot of my licensing stuff, finding a network of people that are in a similar situation to you and have experience in that market, whatever it might be, is going to be one of your best resources for building that plan. So once we thought we had the plan right, then we decided to pitch the plan to friends and family. So we catered a thing at my house in my basement and brought like 30 people in, and we had a PowerPoint presentation and we made a pitch. Said, here's what we want to do, here's our vision, here's the numbers we put together, here's how we want to structure your investment, here's what we think here's what your rights as an investor are, here's what our role as the owners are, and we pitched it. And then you have to just flat out ask for money. I mean, and as a small business owner, you will have to get very, very used to just asking for things, asking for money, asking for help, asking for a sale. If you haven't done sales before, go find a recruiter. Because the number one thing that we did at recruiting school, and this is probably one of the best things I got from my military career that still applies now to my professional career, was recruiting school, because it was nothing but sales, sales, sales. It didn't matter that we were recruiting people to the Army, we were getting Zig Ziglar sales training. I mean, this is like the top of the rung stuff. Features, benefits, overcoming objections, and then asking for a sale. And then in the interim of that time, we tried to get a loan. So the first time we went to get a loan, we went to a big bank, we went to PNC, which was a mistake. If you are trying to start a small business, going to a big bank is a very, very bad idea. They have very different underwriting rules. They may say they do SBA loans and the rest of these things, but I have found, and almost everybody else I've talked to, at least in my industry, the small banks, local banks, people that work at banks are a much better resource for finding ways to get capital. Because without capital, either your own or somebody else's, it's very, very difficult to do this. So it took us a lot of time, a lot of conversations, a lot of talking to people. Eventually raised we raised in the 18 months approximately $300,000. Because our total project cost for us was going to end up being just under $1 million in terms of construction, equipment. I mean, we're a manufacturing outfit. Technically, I mean, we make beer. It's a great product, but it's still manufacturing. I have a factory floor. I've got supplies that come in. We convert those supplies into our end product, and then we sell that end product through a distributor and then through our own retail space. I mean, I could be making chairs for all that matter. It's the same thing. I just have to be making beer, which is a little more fun. So once we got the capital, then we went to the bank. We're like, okay, we raised all this money, and so we need this from you. And so we negotiated with the bank for a while, and what they ended up getting, and we had, we would never been in business before, was a 50-50 split on debt to equity. So we had sold $300,000 in equity, so they were willing to give us another $300,000 in debt. So total at that time we had about $600,000, so we were like, okay, well, our original $1 million price may not be achievable, so now you got to go back to the investors. Okay, so we said we were going to build this big a place. With the capital we have, we may not be able to do that, so now we got to build this. So here's how that changes the outlook. Here's how it changes, how long we think it's going to take to get your money back. Here's how long we think it's going to take us to turn a profit. All these kind of things. So it's change all the time. But once you've got the capital and you get all the rest of the things, now you can pull the trigger on actually building whatever it is you're going to do. So whether it's a physical space, a retail space, an online existence, an online business, blogging, whatever. I mean, you can make money doing any number of these things with obviously the first caveat about being passionate about it, but you have to have infrastructure. Now, obviously on the low end of those infrastructures is online businesses. You can do those very, very cheap, but you still need capital. If you want to do something where you're selling stuff in a retail space, that takes a lot more capital. And if you're going to be doing manufacturing, that takes even more capital. So there's a whole gradation of how far along that line of what kind of business you want to do versus how much you have to consider on inputs. So once you've got the passion and you've got an idea, then you can kind of go along that scale depending on how much money you got or how much money you can get.